I'm Taryn Tyler.
I'm Hallie Tyler.
And we are
the Scribbler Sisters.
Today we are with our good friend and fellow writer, JJ Elliot. Hello.
Hi guys, how are you today?
We're good. We're glad that you are here. So we're going to ask you questions.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad you read the book.
She read the book.
I'm glad. I'll talk to you mostly.
Alright, so when did you start writing?
I started writing probably in the early '90s, and it was quite by accident. I was living up in Long Beach, and the local paper there had a Halloween writing contest, and I read the winning the winning entry, and I went, I can do better than this. And so the next year, someone took me up on that. They said, "You said you could write better," and so I did. I submitted my story, and I won the contest. And then the next year, I won it again. And the year after that, they told me I couldn't submit any more stories. So
they're like, "You're not allowed to win."
Yeah. So I thought, well, shoot, this could be kind of fun. So I started writing short stories. I took a couple of classes. I got better at it. I had a couple of small successes of selling stories to small magazines, and then I always wanted to take a stab at writing a book. And so I've had this idea in my head for many years, and eventually you say, okay, you got to let it go and start putting it down on paper.
Okay. So when do you usually write short stories, though?
Well, I like the idea of taking a single idea and going for it. So I had an idea once of a guy who wakes up one day on his own grave. I thought, oh, what a cool image. How do what do I do with the story after that? Mm-hmm. So that's the thing, is that I like that. I had a story I remember reading about this kid who was on a rooftop of a high-rise building, and he jumped from one rooftop to the next. Mm-hmm. I thought, oh my God, what a crazy idea. And so that became the basis of a story. And so you take one idea or one aspect, mm-hmm. and try to build something around it. And from that, you end up with characters you didn't think you were going to end up with storylines you weren't sure that you were going to, at least in the beginning, didn't think I was going to do. And you could build something around maybe it's a single idea, and your characters, as they take life, sometimes spin away from you, but I think you end up with something solid. So I like that. And a short story is usually like one character and one idea, mm-hmm. as opposed to a novel, which can have multiple storylines, multiple characters, and then the trick is trying to pull them all together at the end, hopefully.
What was the first idea that you got that inspired the Rats of Heaven?
Okay. So there was an urban legend about a killer who was in a room killing somebody when somebody else was in the room with them, and the other person didn't even realize that was happening until the next morning, when there was a note that said, had you turned on the light, I would have killed you too. I know, it's kind of creepy, but the idea of a killer who could come and go without being caught or noticed or detected, sort of, I hate to say it resonated with me, but I thought, wow, how would you stop something like that, or what would that be? And that was kind of just the little kernel I needed to start this story. And of course, it took off in a totally different direction, but that was sort of the idea of a killer who can go anywhere, anytime without being detected.
What inspires, or what kind of common themes do your stories usually have that maybe correlate back with Rats of Heaven? So
I'm hoping that for me, the Rats of Heaven, the story is about redemption.
Okay.
And of the three, what I consider the three main characters, which would be Nick, Jenna, and Jimmy, all of those characters had something traumatic that happened to them in their past, and how that affected their lives going forward. The events that happened in the Rats of Heaven is how they overcome those obstacles that sort of held them back, and allow them to become better people, or at least how to deal with the damage that was done to them earlier. So the idea of redemption, I think, is plays big in my story.
I can actually definitely see that that's a common thing from reading your short stories.
Yeah, and same thing too. I always like the idea of sometimes of second chances, whether it's a time travel story or a ghost who gets to come back to try to do over things that he might have done badly when he was alive. That idea, the second chances, is something that really resonates with me.
Okay, what is your favorite story that you've ever created?
That I ever created?
Yes.
Oh boy. Well, it's so about 20 years ago, I wrote a story called Politically Dead. And it was about a guy who, I mean, this is before the zombie genre took off. It's about a guy who brings people back to the dead so they could vote for him. And he calls them deceased Americans. And what he realizes is that he can get zombies to do what he wanted to do. So he says, this isn't I have a voting block. And so the idea was to find them jobs, and they mostly worked in the post office or DMV. So, I know it was a bad joke, but I thought it was a great title.
Yeah.
But that's the idea. What was that? It was called Politically Dead. It was published in a small magazine called Plot Magazine, based out of Texas. And I really enjoyed it because I thought it was kind of a fun idea. And I have my second book that's coming out shortly of short stories, and Politically Dead will be in that story.
Oh, cool. When is that coming out?
Well, it should be out in the next couple of months. I'm finishing off the last say 25% of it, and I expect to have that done by January or February.
Okay, cool.
So I'm thinking maybe by early March the next book should come out.
And what was the idea of the short story collection?
So the idea of the short story collection was the theme were holidays, and so it's each short story takes place on a different holiday, and it's not always the Currier and Ives idea of holidays. I like to have a little bit of a twist or a bend to it. It's sort of the holidays meets Twilight Zone. So it's there's some good I think some good scares and some fun reads in that, and things that could you might help for a good holiday. It's good holiday fare, and so I do expect to have it out by March next year.
And that'll also be on Amazon?
It should be on Amazon as well.
So how was the writing process different from writing your short stories, which you've been doing for a while now, and then going to the novel? Because you mentioned that it was like a bigger project. How was the process different?
The chapters are written pretty much from the point of view of a single character except toward the end when they start to mesh together. Keeping those voices different every time was a challenge, because usually in a short story you have one character, you're thinking about that character, and you just write it out. This way, keeping the different voices going, and again, everyone has a different motivation, whether it's the protagonist or the antagonist. And of course, the more evil you get, the harder it is to try to figure out how do I write his point of view and make him at least somewhat believable as a fleshed out character. Sometimes becomes difficult. And as you write the story, you sometimes think of, at least for me, of subplots. It's, oh, this would be great if this happened. And then you start to go back and sort of weave them back in as you can, and try not to miss any of that. After this book is done, I thought of 100 different ways of other subplots or other things that I could have done with these characters, and given the chance, I would do it again.
I've heard a poet say once, like, poems aren't finished; they're just abandoned.
I think you're absolutely right. And there was a poster I saw that said, there comes a time in every story where it's time to shoot the author and publish the story.
Let's do it.
Because you know that you will never finish it. And so you need an editor who will tell you, you're done, take it away from you, from your cold, dead fingers, and publish it, because we will always find ways to change it. And you're absolutely right. It's never finished. And if you don't publish it, then you'll never finish it. It'd be the never-ending story.
What does that mean? That you're gonna like write a sequel or?
I do have an idea for a sequel because there are a couple of characters that didn't interact that I want them to have a chance to interact, and I actually opened a bigger world that I really wasn't planning on it, but as I read through it again, I went, oh yeah, I can do this. So I do have a sequel in mind. Yes.
Okay.
I don't have a title yet, so.
And where can people find your book?
Oh, so my book is available on Amazon. You can either when you go to Amazon.com, you type in the title, The Rats of Heaven, or JJ Elliot, and you'll find me there.
Okay. What about if they wanted to stalk you on the internet?
Oh, so I do have a Twitter account and Instagram and a Facebook account, all under JJ Elliot Author.
Okay.
You can find me there.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming to chat with us.
Well, thank you for having me over. I appreciate guys taking interest in the book and the read, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, and we'll do this again.
Cool. Thank you for watching. You can follow him on his social media, and you can follow me on Instagram at Hallie_Tyler.
I am Taryn_Tyler_author. And we'll see you next time. That's not the idea. The idea is to make you talk.
Oh yeah. Well, that I do, and quite often. And talking about myself, I'd love to do that too. So that should.
What? You talk about yourself sometimes?
Some of the things that reading your stories, I'm not going to steal them, but I like the idea of like I said, something of high adventure, traveling from castle to castle type of thing, and odd villains and magic happens in between. I kind of like those stories. I thought that'd be kind of fun to do. Also want to write a haunted house story. A very classic haunted house story. Something jumps at you forward, so you back up, and then there's someone behind you. Oh, I fell for that one.
Yeah, see, I would totally be the person who just stood there, but like, I know you can't touch me.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are less touchy though.
And then I would sue them.
Boy,
Are we
now
talking,
you.
by the way?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
I wondered.
sorry.
That's an introduce. Well, that's right. We have to do our thing.